Romandie 2003, the 57th edition of a historic race which over the next week will see 122 riders on 16 teams confront 5 gruelling stages totalling over 700 kilometres through the cantons of French-speaking Switzerland. The race prologue was a technical 3.4 kilometre time trial through historic Geneva, punctuated by 17 sharp bends, every one of which could cost riders time. Definitely a route for riders with explosive acceleration and impeccable bike handling, and it kept the crowds on tenterhooks all afternoon. A quick glance at the race statistics show that history favours home riders. Just. The last was Laurent Dufaux in 1998, and the Swiss riders will be eager to ride well on home soil. The race favourites include Laurent Dufaux, now aged 34, CSC's Tyler Hamilton in great form this spring, Alexander Mose hoping to shine in front of his home crowds, as was his teammate and compatriot Alex Zuller. And Dario Frigo, second in the world rankings and the winner of the past 2 Romandie tours, was here to fine-tune his form for the 3-week tour of Italy. And as we join the prologue, the early leader is Spain's Oscar Pereiro, riding for the Swiss Phonak team. It wasn't long before his teammate Alexander Mose made an early declaration of intent by edging out Pereiro at the top of the leaderboard. And here is Mose, and he's working hard, he's digging deep. Look at him, spreading his jaws to breathe deep, sprinting for the line, giving it everything he can. And he moves into first place, nearly 2 seconds ahead of his teammate Oscar Pereiro. Now it's the turn of another of the Phonak riders and another Swiss rider, the evergreen 34-year-old Alex Zuller. He's never won this race, and he starts the day with high hopes, but he's some way off the pace. Here's Fabian Cancellara, World Time Trial Championship twice as a junior, and there's no better place than here in front of his own fans to bring all that promise to fruition. He's fast, he's very fast, and he's setting a new standard for everyone who follows. He's hard over the cobbles at Geneva. Not his hometown, but he's performing to the best of his abilities, and look at them, look at the crowd. First place for this 22-year-old rider. Next to start, Australia's World Pursuit Champion, Bradley McGee. The Australian from Sydney, riding on the French team Française des Jeux. Let's see what he can do. And here is Zuller approaching the finish line. He'd have been hoping for better than this. He's not going to win it. He's giving it everything he's got, but it's not going to be good enough. He's not first. He goes into 4th place, but he's 7 seconds off Cancellara's blistering pace. Here is Bradley McGee. Look at that style, honed on the track. But his splits only show him in 5th place. Can he improve on that? And here's one of the big favourites for the overall win, Tyler Hamilton, the quiet man from Boston, who for many years was Lance Armstrong's faithful water courier. He'll be looking for a fast start to a race he's come here to win. Hamilton increases the pace out of the saddle. And here's McGee coming into land. His line's wandering a bit. He's approaching the finish line. He hasn't won it either. He'll be challenging Zuller. And McGee moves into 5th place, we hear. Now next to go are 2 of the big favourites, Frigo and Dufaux, and they're on the road simultaneously. This head-to-head should give us some clue about how they're riding. It's Frigo, of course, who's the specialist, but here's Tyler Hamilton approaching the line, and he's seconds off Cancellara's pace already. Well, he'll be disappointed with that, but there's a long way to go. And here's Frigo, and we're hearing that Frigo's chain slipped off early on, which has sabotaged his prologue. Now, he doesn't want to lose time. This is a race he's won twice in the past. And here's Dufaux, Frigo's big rival, giving it everything. Now, he's a climbing specialist in the 13th season of his distinguished career. And he's approaching the line, and he's going to complete a Swiss clean sweep in the prologue of the Tour de Romandie. And one thing you can be sure of, it won't be the last we hear of Laurent Dufaux in this year's race. And here comes Frigo, the last rider, limiting his losses after a technical hitch. But he's well down the leaderboard. He's lost 10, maybe he's lost 15 seconds. There's no lack of power in those legs, but when technical matters go wrong, there's nothing you can do. Frigo approaches the finishing line, but there's no challenging Fabien Cancellara. So a fantastic first day for the Swiss, with local riders Fabien Cancellara in first place, Alexander Mose 2 seconds off the lead, and Laurent Dufaux tantalisingly close in third. Early leader Oscar Pereiro kept fourth place, Tyler Hamilton came in seventh, and Alex Zuller and Martin Elminger ensured there were 5 Swiss riders in the top 10 and 6 from Team Phonak in the top 15. The day ended with the first yellow jersey of the Tour sitting snugly on Romandie, an 181-kilometre stage taking the riders from the capital Geneva to the town of Fleurien, with 2 intermediate sprints and 2 second category climbs, the last just 9 kilometres from the finish. As they set off from Geneva, the weather turned against the riders, but this didn't deter the peloton, and it was the Italian rider Simone Bertoletti who made the first breakaway in the wet, building up a 12-minute lead by the 43-kilometre mark. Bertoletti, who spent his career supporting Gilberto Simoni, the Giro d'Italia champion, on a rare foray out of the peloton. With the weather against them and a long way to go in this 2003 Tour de Romandie, the peloton was reluctant to make any impression on Bertoletti's lead. Several riders did try to make a move, with little effect, although 2 Alessio riders, Fabio Baldato and Alessandro Bertolini, gained 14 minutes, 42 seconds over the peloton. With 70 kilometres to go, the Swiss Phonak team made a push at the front of the peloton to keep their riders Alex Zuller, Alexandre Mose and Martin Elmiger in contention for the yellow jersey. And here are Fabian Jeker, Frank Schleck and last year's Tour winner Dario Frigo. They've broken away from the peloton, but there isn't far to go, and it's still Bertoletti out on his own. And here is Bertoletti. His lead is slipping back. In fact, we're told the peloton can see him. It's less than 2 minutes on a long, straight road. Now, if Bertoletti's going to have any chance... Oh, well, he's in the final kilometre. He looked over his shoulder. He looked to be slacking, but he knows he's in the final kilometre. Here's Gerrit Glomser leading out the peloton. You can see the speeds rising as the peloton strings out, but I don't think they're going to catch Bertoletti. And there he is. He's crossed his chest. He knows he's going to win it. He's a happy man. Well, it's only a second win as a professional rider for Simone Bertoletti. He's 29 years old, and he's not only got the stage win, he's got the yellow jersey and the King of the Mountains title. Definitely the greatest day in the career of a domestique who's spent his recent career in the shadow of Gilberto Simoni, the Tour of Italy champion, but here he is taking something for himself. Now the peloton is going to lose a minute or more. The pace is picking up. But Bertoletti is going to have a big lead by the time this group reaches the line. It's heating up now. There's Mazzoleni in the front there, Vladimir Belli, but it's Gerrit Glomser who wins the sprint for second place. So Bertoletti takes the yellow jersey from Swiss rider and prologue winner Fabian Cancellara. The Phonak team worked hard at the front of the peloton to keep Mose and Dufault in the picture. And America's Tyler Hamilton finishes the day in 5th place. And for Bertoletti, the career domestique, a rare win. And what a happy man he'll be tonight. Simone Bertoletti takes the yellow jersey. The Tour de Romandie is still wide open. The Tour de Romandie was the longest and flattest of the Tour. The sort of stakes that might allow Simone Bertoletti, the race leader, to keep that yellow jersey for one more day. Just one Category 3 and one Category 4 climber waited, with the peloton happy to let Lampre set the tempo in defence of Simone Bertoletti's yellow jersey. They allowed the leading duo the chance to push their lead to as much as 6 minutes at about the 80-kilometre mark. And by this stage, it was the real battle for the stage win, as Elmiger and Krivtsov started to play cat and mouse and test each other out. On paper, the Swiss rider was the favourite, but Krivtsov too has a good terminus speed, although he's better known for his time trialling. Had the peloton left it too late? It was beginning to look like it. And they're going to have to react quickly if they're going to catch the two riders out front. The peloton has been happy to let Lampre do all the work, but these two are starting to scent stage victory, and as they go under the Flamme Rouge with 1 kilometre to go, they really are starting to play cat and mouse. Now on past form, Elmiger has the faster sprint, but it all depends on how much he's put into getting there. Krivtsov, 24 years old, only 3 victories to his name as a professional. Now the peloton is up to speed now, but it is far too late. The winner of this stage will come from these two riders. Elmiger's winding it up. Elmiger's gone. He's making his break. Has he gone too early? He has. The Ukrainian is passing him. The Ukrainian has hung on his wheel, and Krivtsov is clearly ahead. He's going to win the stage. An intelligent victory. He was content to wait. He let the Swiss rider make the mistake and then pounced. Now for Yuri Krivtsov, it's a personal victory, but he's also taken his Jean de la Tour team perhaps one stage closer to a wild card for the Tour de France. And here is the peloton. The speed is high. It's the Fassa Bortolo team at the front. This is only the sprint for 3rd place, remember. And it's an Alessio rider. It's Angelo Forlan who's hit the front. He's not going to be caught. And the gap was 1 minute 23 seconds, which means that Simone Bertoletti has retained the yellow jersey for one more day. Yuri Krivtsov, a rare win in his young career. Elmiger got it all wrong. But the fact is that it changes little in the overall result. Krivtsov takes the stage win. But it's Simone Bertoletti who stays in the lead by a wide margin after stage 2 of the 2003 Tour de Romandie. One thing's for sure, the mountains start tomorrow and Bertoletti won't be wearing yellow. Stage 3 and we're entering the crucial stages of the Tour de Romandie. We're at the midway point and this stage from Moudon to Loèche-les-Pins covers 171 kilometres with an uphill start to an intermediate sprint at 55 kilometres at Montreux, followed by a relatively flat section through to a third category climb 30 kilometres from the finish. With less than perfect weather conditions, the peloton left the town of Moudon. 2 riders had abandoned early. Italy's Simone Masciarelli of Vini Caldirola and Ivan Quaranta, the Saeco sprinter. 10 riders made an early break. Among them Lampre rider Rubens Bertogliati, another Swiss rider riding in front of his home crowds. Then on the exit from the town of Sierre, 2 riders go down. Spain's Oscar Pereiro and Gonzalo Bayarri of the Phonak team. Now Pereiro has some mechanical difficulties, but he's able to continue and join the peloton. Bayarri seems to be in more serious difficulty. The good news is that he was able to continue, and we rejoin the peloton stretched out over the Swiss mountains. On the relentless climb up to Loèche, the Alessio riders dynamited the race. Defending champion Dario Frigo was in difficulty and began to fall back. Then it was Chema del Olmo's turn to attack, joined by his Milanese teammate David Bernabeu and Fabian Lleca, the Swiss rider. Del Olmo set a blistering pace. This really set the cat among the pigeons for the first real attack of the 2003 Tour de Romandie. Del Olmo has really upped the pace here, and behind him there are a lot of riders beginning to hurt. The peloton is stretched out. And at the back, the yellow jersey Simone Bertoletti is beginning to lose contact. Now there's just 3 kilometres to go, and here is a devastating attack by Francisco Perez, another Milanese rider. He's looking behind him, and what can he see? He can see Laurent Dufaux, he can see Fabian Lleca, Alexandre Mose. But there's some way behind him. Perez, we hear, is 11 seconds ahead of the group, followed by Dufaux, Hamilton, Lleca, Mose. Here are all the big guns of the 2003 Tour de Romandie, but how much do they want to bring him back? Because they're going to have to work hard if they do. Look, they're not cooperating at all. Perez has launched a darting attack, and unless this group gets organised, he's going to win this stage. Dufaux sitting at the back, happy to let others do the work, but in the long term, is that the right strategy? Hamilton came to this tour hoping to win it. Now he's the only rider in this group with a teammate. This is Carlos Sastre at the front, working hard. But Perez, there he is. He can see the gap, and he's looking very fluid. A tall, long-limbed rider. If he can keep this rhythm up, and he seems to be keeping this rhythm up, he can be heading for an important win in his young career. Now here is the chasing group, and once again there doesn't seem to be the organisation they'll need to chase down the Spaniard. As we pull away, we may see Perez further up the road. Now the yellow jersey, Simone Bertoletti, is far behind us. So whatever happens here, the race leadership will change. And is this chasing group making any inroads into Perez's attack? I think not. Here is Perez digging deep. Now he's got to make the most of this uphill climb. This is where he's got to gain time on that group, because on the way down the other side they can slipstream and gain time on him. But look at that fluid action. This is a man who's making his bid for victory. The Milanese team has blown this stage apart. This seems to have been the plan, and Perez here is gunning for victory. Now the important thing is to ride his own race. Here's Hamilton at the front. But once again, he doesn't seem to be making the necessary effort. Yaroslav Popovic, the fine 24-year-old Ukrainian rider, he's joined the leading group. But at this moment, the race is all about Perez. This group is merely marking time. They're not even trying to close that gap. They're making no impression on Perez. With an almost 20-second lead, the Spaniard is heading down towards the stage finish. Front. But they're not closing in on the Spaniard. He's got his eyes fixed on that motorbike ahead of him. He's the man that's made this day's stage. He's the one that's making the racing. And with only half a kilometre to go to the top of this climb, there is nothing that the chasing group can do about this. Francisco Perez is a little-known rider. He's ridden in Portugal for all his racing career. Now, of all the teams here at the Tour de Romandie, Milanese is one that has no interest in the Tour de France. The height of the Portuguese team's aspirations are the Tour of Spain. And so, competing against some of the great teams in world cycling, Milanese has ridden a wonderful stage here today. A sharp turn, 2 kilometres to go now. Perez out of the saddle, accelerating back into an aerodynamic tuck. Now he's coming into town. These sharp curves mean the chasing group will gain nothing on him. He's better to be out front on his own. He'll be faster than they will. Hay bales at the corners there for safety reasons. Francisco Perez, a sharp right turn, closing in on a famous stage win. He must be elated as he closes in towards the finish line. The chasing group, he has to go left. He's gone right. He's gone right. They've tried to stop him. But Francisco Perez has taken a wrong turn. It's chaos. At the end of stage 3 of the Tour de Romandie, the man who had the stage 1 has taken a wrong turning. He's carrying on. The television camera behind him is trying to stop him. You could see Laurent Dufaux shouting there. He must have heard through his earpiece that the stage leader has taken a wrong turning and he's sprinting for the stage win here. A slightly bemused look in his face. He's breathing hard. He's leading the group out. There are riders there who must believe this is the sprint for second place no more. But Dufaux knows. Well, this is incredible. Francisco Perez, the man who had this stage 1, has taken a wrong turn, and Dufaux, well, a Pyrrhic victory really, because had Perez not taken that wrong turning, he would have finished this stage with a 20-second advantage. And here we see it again. The officials are running out into the road to try and inform him, but Perez has the bit between his teeth, and he's taken a completely wrong turn. And here at the Milanese bus, there's Francisco Perez, uncomprehending. So it's Laurent Dufaux that takes the win, followed by Fabian Jecker and Alexandre Moos. Once again, a Swiss clean sweep. Laurent Dufaux takes the crowd's applause, salutes the heavens, celebrates a stage win, but in truth a stage win by default. And not only does he take the win, he takes the yellow leader's jersey in the 2003 Tour de Romandie. Stage 4, 146 kilometers from Monteil to Châtel-Saint-Denis-les-Pacots. 3 first category climbs today, thanks to the chocolate box landscape of the Swiss countryside. Expect major changes in the general classification by the end of today's stage. It was a radiant sun that lit up the race today, and the cyclists took on the crucial penultimate mountainous stage after a moving start as they stood in silence in memory of one of the race motorbike pilots who tragically lost his life on stage 3 in an accident at Montreux. An Alessio rider led out the peloton over the first climb, which already had some of the riders in difficulty. Lampre's Czech sprinter Jan Sverada was among the riders who abandoned there. At the head of the peloton, CSC keep the pace high, protecting the position of Tyler Hamilton, probably the best time trialist on the race. Nonetheless, Switzerland's Laurent Dufaux, the yellow jersey, was looking relaxed with his teammates on the last mountainous stage of the race. The route took them back through Montreux on the banks of Lake Geneva. And then, the moment the gradient steepened, it was the Portuguese Milanese team stirring things up at the front. First, Francisco Perez. Then his teammate, Joan Horach, upping the pace and making things very hot for the riders behind them. As the Spaniards up front lifted the pace, Laurent Dufaux was forced to go on the offensive. That yellow jersey was feeling less and less secure on the Swiss rider's shoulders. And that was the situation with 9 kilometers to go, when a Vini Caldirola rider, Eddie Mazzoleni, made his move. We're at the foot of the climb, up to Les Pacots, and Mazzoleni's beginning to labour. His upper body's swaying from side to side with his pedalling action, a sure sign that these exertions are beginning to take their toll. Mazzoleni gained a 3-second time bonus at the intermediate sprint, followed by Spain's Francisco Perez, the irrepressible Spaniard, who leads the chasing group and is beginning to make a difference here. At the head of the race, Eddie Mazzoleni takes advantage of a short downhill section just to rest those legs. These sharp curves will hold up the chasing group, but Mazzoleni is going to need to build up a big lead if he's going to hang on and win this stage. The Italian working hard. He's doing now what Francisco Perez did yesterday. He's taken the race to the other riders. The overall classification is still wide open. You can see there, Mazzoleni is visible to the chasing group. That gives them something to aim at. But now he's climbing. Now he's at the foot of Le Paco climb. It really is a valiant attack by Eddie Mazzoleni. But behind him, the chase is on. And that, I think, is Francisco Perez, who's gone off the front again and is chasing Mazzoleni down. Now, Perez, of course, wants to make up for yesterday's disappointment. He took a wrong turn and Laurent Dufaux picked up the stage win. In the meantime, the race commissaires decided that they would declare Perez the joint winner with Dufaux. That's all very well, but he had a 20-second lead, and he could have been in the leader's jersey today. Mazzoleni working hard. He knows it's up to him, but he must also know all the riders have earpieces and they can listen in to instructions from their team cars, so he must also know that Francisco Perez is chasing him down. And here is Perez, that fluid, lanky action. He really is built to ride a bike. Tall, very skinny. And he's dropped the chasing group far behind him. Now just ahead of him, you can see Mazzoleni's team car. Here is Mazzoleni. He's labouring. He's visibly slower than Perez. Out of the saddle, picking up the pace, but it can only be because he can feel Perez breathing down his neck. It won't be long now. And there goes Perez, darting past the stage leader and heading towards the finish line. The chasers really digging deep, trying not to let the Spaniard get away, but Mazzoleni's on his wheel. The Italian has worked so hard. He no doubt believes that if he can just stay with the Spaniard, the two of them can work together and they can bring this stage home, dispute it between the two of them. But Perez is having nothing for it. He's not waiting. He's not asking Mazzoleni for help. A quick look over his shoulder and he's away. Perez has dropped the Italian. Mazzoleni out of the saddle, trying to stay in contact with the stage leader, but Francisco Perez knows that this is his chance. Tomorrow is a time trial. He will not be among the leaders tomorrow. If he's going to bid to win the Tour de Romandie, he's got to do it here on these slopes. In effect, he's riding against the clock himself. His time trial has started early. Behind him, there are riders like Tyler Hamilton, a time trial specialist. There's Laurent Dufaux, who is a climber but can time trial much more strongly than Francisco Perez. If the Spaniard is going to win this race, he's got to gain as much time as he possibly can now. That's why he didn't wait for Mazzoleni, and that's why the chasing group is making little impression on him. He's got the 1 kilometre marker ahead of him. This time, surely, stage win will not escape him. There's the chasing group. All the contenders are there. Hamilton, Yeager, Mose, Dufault. There's real anxiety there. Dufault must know that he is about to lose the leader's jersey. Only half a kilometre to go now. Francisco Perez powering up the remains of the climb. The gradient has lessened here, but he's hurting as much as it did on the steepest stretches. It's the riders that make the climbs hard, not the gradients. Look at that face, pain written all over it. But Francisco Perez drawing close to a stage win. He's looking tired now, but he knows that this time the stage win will be his. 200 metres to go now, and this will be a sweet, sweet victory for Francisco Perez. And there, he hasn't lost his sense of humour, signalling to the people at the side of the road that today he knows where he's going. Closing in on the finish line, Francisco Perez of the Portuguese Milanese team is overjoyed. The clock is running. Here's Mazzoleni, who still hasn't been caught. He's going to take second place on the stage, even though the chasing group is hot on his heels. Eddie Mazzoleni takes second place. And here they come. The sprint's warming up. And it's Perez's teammate Klaus-Michael Müller, the Dane, the usual leader of the Milanese team, who takes third place. Another brave display today in the Swiss mountains by Francisco Perez, and this time rightfully rewarded with the stage win. Behind him, Tyler Hamilton in 5th place on the stage, Laurent Dufault in 6th place. Waiting ominously, final day and a time trial through the streets of Lausanne, a 20-kilometre test against the clock. A tough day of competition was in store for Francisco Perez, a mountain specialist whose 29-second lead would be much under threat from the time trial specialists, the first of whom was Alex Zuller, who took nearly 9 seconds off the leading time of Aitor Gonzalez. Zuller's time looked good enough to win until Tyler Hamilton's wheels hit the tarmac. Tyler Hamilton, the quiet American, knows that a lot will be expected of him, and he'll no doubt be expecting a lot of himself. There he goes, powering out of the saddle, knowing it's everything or nothing. Laurent Dufault with everything to do. With the time trial specialist Hamilton in front of him. And Hamilton has set the best split times all the way round so far. He was a champion downhill skier in his youth, and that aerodynamic tuck owes a lot to the experience he gained on the slopes. Dufault looking smooth, looking composed, but he knows the odds are against him. With the American on fire ahead of him, Tyler Hamilton has smashed all the split times, and he's giving it absolutely everything as he approaches the finish line. He's going to destroy Alex Zuller's time. He's out of the saddle. He's digging very deep, sprinting for the line. It's going to be a massive margin. Nearly 42 seconds ahead of Alex Zuller. Tyler Hamilton has turned this race around, and now it's all down to Laurent Dufault and Francisco Perez. He looked looks to be in real difficulty. He's paying the price for those exertions on the last two mountain stages, and that yellow jersey is definitely slipping away. And look at him, he can hardly turn his legs round. And here's Laurent Dufaux. Now, he had to finish within 14 seconds of Tyler Hamilton's time, and he hasn't. So Tyler Hamilton has won the Tour de Romandie, and Laurent Dufaux can do no better than second place. Well, Tyler Hamilton rode an anonymous race for much of the Tour, but when it really counted, he pulled it out of the hat. A marvellous, marvellous time trial win.
I went out and I gave it everything I had. I wasn't really concerned about the other riders. You know, I know that Perez had a big lead on me, but I just went out and tried to have the best time trial I possibly could. And whether or not that was good enough, you know, I had to wait and see, but I believe it was. The Tour Romandie has been a big objective for me all spring, as well as Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and to win both is incredible. It's really beyond words.
So final honours to the best rider of this early season, Tyler Hamilton. Laurent Dufaux in second place, 3 Swiss riders in the top 5, and Francisco Perez, the man that made the racing for much of this Tour de Romandie, in third place. Just the boost Tyler Hamilton needs as he resets his sights on the yellow jersey of the Tour de France. This is Matt Rendell, hoping you've enjoyed the Tour de Romandie and looking forward to seeing you next time.